mining is one of the coolest technologies that we've ever done, frankly, at Microsoft. I am so proud of that technology because, frankly, we and the Microsoft and I in the UAE team were the first people to enable our customers on knowledge mining. So let me tell you a story. When we started in Microsoft, we wanted to do AI. But for us to do AI, our customers wanted to do AI. The issue with this story is that not a lot of people were AI centric and not a lot of people knew coding. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to start our journey by creating some form of a cognitive skill set in which it allows you to create AI without you being a data scientist. So without you knowing different forms of coding languages that you're learning right now. And that's really cool if you think of it. A person who does not know how to code actually can do big, massive projects in AI. And that's frankly my story. When I joined Microsoft, I had a business degree. I was mainly focused on the data, but then I did not focus a lot on my technical skill set. And when I joined Microsoft, my manager put me as responsible for advanced data analytics. So what I had to do two things. The first part that I had to do is learn the technical skill set. So I had to learn Python, I had to learn R. But at the same time, I had to learn the different components that you can utilize inside of Azure, our cloud, for you to actually create these advanced analytics without the need of AI. Advanced 5 years later in Microsoft, I recently, literally 3 weeks ago, I got my degree for my master's degree in big data analytics and advanced data. So I continued my journey from being a business person who does not know how to code to a person who is responsible for coding and teaching coding for the rest of the people that joined my training. So when we started in Microsoft, we focused on applications to make them smart. We wanted to do something with knowledge mining, and then we wanted to do in advanced analytics and machine learning. Now, what is machine learning? Think of machine learning as the big codes that you utilize and you create to create this advanced analytics aspect. But then knowledge mining actually was the most fun and most important one. And I'll tell you why it's important. Think of it this way. You are attending a school, a university, or you're currently in your work. How much paper do you have or how much documents do you have on your machine that you do not use? You just keep it. Potentially one day someone will ask you about it. One day someone will ask you for that data and you will pull it up. And that's the concept of knowledge mining. What we tend to do, or by default of human nature, we tend to hoard stuff. So we collect a lot of data. Now, how can you make sure that the data that you've collected is actually changed or we convert it from just data into insights? And that's the concept of knowledge mining. Knowledge mining is a smart way in which you have a project. Let's say frankly, I have a student in Bahrain. What he did, he took all of he photocopied his book. And what he did, he made a smarter mechanism through knowledge mining to answer all of his questions without the need of him reading the book. So, and that's one part of knowledge mining. It's the ability for you to convert documents and different forms of content that you have into insights which you can utilize. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. So what we'll be focusing on today is Azure Search. Azure Search is really nice because it's actually simple to utilize. It does not require you to be advanced. It does not require you to actually learn a lot of coding mechanism. And the impact of Azure Search is immense. I'll tell you one use case that I've worked on personally, and I'm really, really proud of. So you know the major airlines in UAE. I'll not specify names, but one of them that is in the UAE, what we worked with them on. So they have different engineering documents. So these engineering documents go from 1998, I think, till actually before, from 1980 something till 2023 or 2022. Now, if you think of it, the documents were PDFs of 400 pages. And a piece of paper, literally a brown paper that's worn out, that explained how does an ex-Airbus flew or how was the old plane flying. So these documents, what we did with them, we've merged them all into one single repository, and we were able to query it. Now, how do you think this helped us? It helps an engineer who is searching for a way to help you, to help fix your plane that you fly on, he was able or she was able to actually find the solution and directly send it and use it to implement a fix. Now, Azure Search is by nature simple because it's compartmentalized. And what that means, it's actually super easy to implement. It's divided into 3 main components that I'll be talking about, and I'll show you some cool demos that we've worked on, and I'll tell you some cool stories. Again, if you have any questions, just put them. If you have any comments, just state them. So yeah. Let's continue. So here are some documents that you can utilize. So there are documents as a PDF file, you have Word documents, you have different forms of contract, you have HTML components, you have images, you have contracts, and you have PowerPoints. What we do in Azure Search is we put them all together into something called a blob storage. And from there, we extract information. And the steps for the extraction of information is simply 3 steps. The first one is ingest. So you put your data into Azure. After you do the ingestion, you enrich. So you add some form of cognitive services. What cognitive services are, they are pre-built AI algorithms. So for example, you see the filters of adding some filter on your face on Instagram or TikTok. You see some bunny ears or whatever. These are parts of the cognitive services. There is actually some form of AI that's detecting that your face is here, and this is where you should put your glasses. Your face is here, and this is where you should apply the filter. So think of it this way. This is how you would do AI. So Azure is a search engine. So here, started off as Azure a search engine. No, so Azure is our platform. So it's a platform in which you create your solution, let's call it. So if you want to create a project, you want to create a software, you would use Azure to build that. Think of Azure as a bigger version of, what's it called? Apple Cloud. So Apple, you store all of your data into your Apple Cloud. Is that correct? That's something that you do. Now, Azure doesn't just offer you storage. It offers you compute for you to process that data, and it processes you different forms of virtual machines to use it. Right now, we are on Zoom. If we take Teams, which is similar to Zoom, it runs in the backend through the networking aspect of Azure. So hopefully I answered your question. And the search engine for Microsoft is Bing, but yeah, Bing exists. So yeah, so after you enrich, you will annotate, and that's what you will use to actually create a search engine. So Sarah, there's a version of your response that is correct. So Azure Search will help you to create some form of a search engine based on the documents that you have. And then from there, you explore, you search. So if you're looking for something related to, let's say, your biology exam that's about photosynthesis, rather than you opening the index of your book or opening that PDF that you have, I don't think you use books anymore. So yeah, opening your PDF and searching for that photosynthesis, you're actually searching and trying and helping with the help of AI. The AI is giving you the answer of like, okay, here is the page in which photosynthesis is mentioned. This is what you can do. It's actually really cool and advanced. Okay, now for cognitive search, again, we spoke about it. So you will collect the data, and then from there, you will break it. So what does breaking mean? Or what? So what we're doing is if, like, let's say Firas ordered McDonald's. That's written in a paper. Okay. So Firas ordered McDonald's, that can be. So what can we extract from it? So Firas is a person's name. McDonald's is the restaurant's name. He ate McDonald's, or he ordered something from McDonald's. So we're getting insights from that, and we're getting information about what are we extracting and what are we doing. And that's an example of extraction. And the answer to your question, how can you get 100% on your exam? You simply need to study. Okay, so let's go back a little bit. So for document cracking, again, you can store it in different ways. So you can store it in different endpoints of storage. Think of it as you simply upload your documents into Azure, and we store it there. So the storage components of Azure are known as blob storage for the sake of this training. And what you can put anything. If you have a video, you can put it. If you have a photo, you can put it. If you have any form of documents, you put it. And that's really cool that you do this because it does not let you just put your data in a table. Okay, and then from there, we add the AI features of it. Now, these are some examples of the AI features. So you have face detection, so you're detecting the face. You have some key phrasing. So when I said Firas ate McDonald's, so you're able to get Firas, you're able to get McDonald's, and then from there, you're extracting some key components. You're understanding where is the location. So where is it based? How is it going? And so on. Yeah, and we're able actually to understand celebrities. So there are celebrities that we can directly identify and landmarks. So these are some examples of the cognitive services that you can see. Let me show you something really quick. Okay, so let's do some face detection. So notice here how in the image, you're seeing a person of color, and you're noticing that people are wearing masks. So we're able to extract that image of that person. We're able to do different, and this is all AI. So similar to the concept of the filter. If you remember when we started COVID, whenever you enter the mall, there will always be a heat sensor and a box over your face. Ever wondered what's that? It's actually AI. So the AI is recognizing your face, and from there, we're measuring the temperature of you. So these are different means of AI that we can utilize. Now, back to our example. So from here, we have a source, you're enriching it, you're adding this amazing AI feature that you can use. As someone mentioned, Azure AI is so smart, just because I work from Microsoft, so I'm a bit biased towards Microsoft. So doesn't Apple, yes, that's correct. So the Apple also, so for example, here, there's a question is, doesn't Apple use mask detection too? That's totally correct, Salim. Apple utilizes mask detection, but also if once you you will realize in the end is that all of the big corporations are developing somewhat the same technology. So be it whenever you're working with face detection, due to the fact that there is a high demand on masks, that's when you introduce the mask detection feature. So our technology is always changing, but also the competitors or the different users or the big data developers, be it Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and so on, are developing the same technology because the project that you'll be working on in the future would need such technology for you to actually do it in the first place. Okay. Then I'll give you an example from here. So you have some text and some images. For the images, you will simply detect a face. You will detect if there is an object, and then you will specify that there is a face detected and there are glasses detected. Then what we'll do, we will merge the text and the image, and then from there, you're able to search. So if you take currently a photo of my face, if you're searching for glasses, a photo with my face right now would pop up because the object detection would detect that there is actually glasses on my face. So there is a question goes by, can authorities use this technology in forensics and criminology? It's a really great question. The answer is there are some programs in which authorities utilize them. I'll tell you one of them that is in UK. It's a train station protection. What authorities do, they would detect if a person might be a harm in a train station and accordingly will stop that person from doing harm. So that's one example of it. I'll tell you another one I think it was in China. There was this person who wasn't good at all, and he went into hiding for 20 years. Then he decided to go attend a concert. From using that power of AI, we were able to detect his face throughout a crowd of 100,000 people attending that concert. We were able to detect his face and we took him, and with the help of our technology, he ended up being in jail. So yes, authorities utilize different forms of AI to actually to keep all of us safe. Okay. So some examples, I spoke about the airline. We have an example about the Met. I'll show you the example about the Met. It's actually really cool. It's about how we took art from a museum and you're able to search the art inside of the Azure portal or inside of the portal that we created. But additionally, you're able to create your own art, which is really nice. So from there, you will take an image and you will start infuse it with AI by merging it to different images, which will make you create another form of like an artifact that is just for you. So let's take the first one. Let me tell you about JFK. So I hope I am not the only one in this chat who would know who is JFK or John F. Kennedy. But story short, a long time ago, one president of the United States was assassinated. And what we did is that we took all of the content from the CIA. So in 2017, 18, the CIA released the content for what happened in that assassination. So what we did, we merged it all. We took about 50,000 documents. Like imagine the amount of it. There's this image of how the data is. Imagine a room just stacked to the brim with papers and boxes and files of this component. So there's a question from Suzanne. Sorry. Is the classification or enrichment completely autonomous process, or is there human intervention autonomous process? It's completely autonomous. So it's done by the AI itself. But what we do is you can actually some way enforce some learnings towards it by correcting some of the mechanisms. But it's like completely unsupervised machine learning algorithms. Now, notice here, I'm just going to search for a keyword called Oswald. So Oswald was the person who actually assassinated JFK. Then let's see, there's a follow-up. Is the data stored before being searched? So the reason why the data is stored in the first place is that one, to keep it closer to the search engine, and two is to actually infuse the data with the machine learning algorithms that are happening, which is part of the enrich component that we do. By the way, thank you all for writing questions. These are really cool. So yeah, so notice here that I only search for Oswald, and what's happening is I'm extracting data about different forms of files in which Oswald is mentioned. So here, if you notice, Oswald is highlighted, but also there is components of handwriting. So someone wrote Oswald. Frankly, I've been demoing this demo for the past 5 years, and I cannot read this page to save my life. So it's actually amazing that the AI is able to understand handprint, but then it's not just handprint, it's also able to detect a face. So it's understanding that he is Lee Harvey Oswald. And what it's doing, it's actually reading the content from the picture. So this is the part where I told you it will understand the image, the object, and if there is some form of annotation on the image, it will add it to the text. And that's what I showcased in the first slide. Something that's really cool is this part. So if you notice here, there is no mentioning of Oswald. And customers love this because they want to make sure that the AI does a mistake. And they're like, oh, look, GP4 is not the right answer. This is totally wrong. But actually, GP4 is the cryptonym. So in the CIA, they will not give you the name of the person. They would use some form of a code. And that code for Lee Harvey Oswald was GP4. And what we did is that we did a simple scraping mechanism in which we scraped a website with the cryptonyms, and then it associated that name with the cryptonym and it highlighted it. It's really, really nice. Okay, so there are multiple ways of you getting content. And what this is really nice, and why is it nice? Because it creates something called a map. That map allows you and shows you how each and every document you have is interconnected with each other. So if you see Oswald, it's associated with his name, which is Lee, but also with Lee Harvey. It's also associated to different components, so be it the embassy. So if you read about it, it's a bit of a dark journey in which the embassy somewhat they spoke to Lee Harvey Oswald, which led to the situation. It's more complex than this, but it just creates this connection between each and every component that you have. Okay. Now, again, so if you think of it this way, we take the data, we put it next to in Azure, From there, we break the document. So in that document, if you notice the image, we took the fact that he is Lee Harvey Oswald. We took in consideration that he is standing in front of a prison cell. We took whatever content that is written on that image. So that's actually amazing when we extract the data from it. From there, we store it, and that's what you were able to search. But this is not just the journey. You can always add more advanced analytics on top of it. Something that one person did in Microsoft is he added a chatbot into that demo that I showed you. So rather than the person asking a question or searching directly from the website or the portal, they're able to ask a chatbot. Another person, his colleague, helped him to create an annotation voice. So they used a voice. So whenever you would search, the search engine or the chatbot will actually answer you back. Someone else took it to the extreme and they replicated the voice of JFK. And what they did is they used AI to embed the voice, and we replicated that voice. So the AI would speak as if it was JFK. Similar to these applications in which you try them on different social media apps that have voiceover, that's what we did. The AI was generating the voice, and then the response for that person on the chatbot was that person's voice. That is simply, frankly, it's really nice. Another friend of mine, actually, they did cognitive search in Arabic. So not every form of AI is enabled in Arabic. I think cognitive search currently supports Arabic, but previously it did not. So what they did, they were in the Egyptian subsidiary of Microsoft. And what they did, they took all of the quotes and all of the different forms of lyrics of different famous singers, and they extracted that. They also added some form of poetry. So they extracted all of the content in Arabic, and you were able to search and query the data from the Arabic, using Arabic as a language. Okay, any questions? Did I miss any? What languages are supported? So there are about, I think, 48 languages supported. Let me double check. Okay, so just to show you all of the languages that are supported, there are multiple languages that are supported, from English, Arabic, French, Czech, and so on. So we constantly add different languages because we want to be inclusive to everyone who speaks the language. And can someone tell me why Arabic was late? Why did we take some time with Arabic? It's something that is particular in our language that makes it harder than any other language. Can someone take a guess? It's not the annotation or the harakats. Close, but think of it this way. So I'm from Lebanon. I potentially would speak a different version of Arabic than you. Exactly. There are so many dialects in Arabic, and the thing is, the combination of words mixes it up and makes it really hard. So something that can be a good word in one dialect Arabic can be a bad word in another dialect of Arabic. So it's really amazing when you see how we actually learn about how dialects work for Arabic. That's why it took us so much time to bring to bring Arabic into Azure. It's because of the fact that when we wanted to introduce Arabic, we had to introduce multiple dialects. The first dialect we've introduced in Arabic was Egyptian. Then it was a stream. So we started with Lebanese. Okay, why they didn't use, there's a question by Dr. Moza, why didn't they use standard Arabic? The issue with standard Arabic is that no one uses it. So even though there is a lot of standard Arabic is still our original dialect, but what we realized is that not a lot of people utilize standard Arabic. And that was the issue with it. So we've introduced the first standard Arabic with the Egyptian dialect. And then when it came to voice, we had to streamline it. So what we did is that we've introduced in a batch Qatari, Bahraini, United Arab Emirates, KSA Arabic, all in different packets. Because when we realize, even though there's a close proximity between the different regions, still there is a variation between the Arabic language that, let's say, people in the UAE speak versus the people in Saudi speak. Okay, let's see one more question. So a there's a question. So a developer have to collaborate with those specialized in linguistics. So yes, we have actually a special environment, a special roles. They're known as Microsoft researchers. And these Microsoft researchers specialize in different variants of technology. One particular variant of that technology is linguistic. So we learn about Arabic, they focus on the different components. And bear in mind, whenever a person actually focuses, and here's the thing, here's the catch for it. We do not hire technical people for this. We hire people who are specialized in linguistics for them to help us develop the code. A technical skill set is a plus, but just remember, most of the work we do as developers is that we bridge the gap, or we try to explain to those who work in the business field on what we're doing. Because if you're the most amazing developer, I'll tell you an example. There is this, we used to have something called Imagine Cup. Imagine Cup was the biggest tech competition that that used to take place by Microsoft. There were these Lebanese, some form of a Lebanese, team. They created an electronic bladder. It was amazing. They made an electronic bladder. It was super cybernetic. It was everything. It was from the future, looking back at it. They could not win, and they did not win because they could not explain their idea to the people who were watching. So just always make sure it's not just about the technology, it's about your communication skills, it's about your soft skills and how you present. Let's see more questions. Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. You can't read. Yeah. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free. Can people change the type of Arabic dialect they're searching? So no. So here's the thing. When you were working with the application that you're creating, you will have to create it for a specific Arabic. But there is a workaround. So what we can do, we use something called Language Understanding Intelligence Service, or some form of advanced neural network that takes place in the backend, in which it detects what component of Arabic is, and it's able to switch the dialect accordingly. But when you're developing, you develop multiple components of language detection, dialects that you need to take in consideration. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the Metropolitan Museum. It's known as the Met. It's fairly simple, fairly famous worldwide. They do the I'm not familiar with it. It's the celebration where everyone wears different fancy stuff. That is too much for me. But yeah, it's that they call it the Met. It's where the Met Gala takes place. What the Met is, it's the Metropolitan Museum of, I think, in New York, in which you would have different art pieces. What they wanted to do, so to answer your question, Dr. Moza, can Azure integrate real-time with data? Yes, you can. It's not about Azure, it's simply uploading your data in real time to Azure. That's correct, you can do that. Great job, Salim. Back to my point. So the Met is a really famous museum. What they wanted to do, they have a lot of people going to the museum physically, but they wanted to increase the number of users joining the museum virtually. So going there to see the museum, how it looks. So they did the virtual tour in which you would walk around and you would see different parts of the museum. It was really cool, but people did not understand the paintings. They wanted to see something that's similar. So if I personally love the color blue. So I want to see everything that's blue in the museum. I don't want to walk around the whole museum just to see whatever is blue. That's when we worked with them to create another form of Azure AI, or a knowledge engine, in which we have all of the photos that they have. And according to the photo you select, we will recommend for you different photographs that are similar, or different pictures that are available in the museum that are similar. Then we wanted to take it forward. So we're like, what if someone can create their own piece of art? And this is when we introduced another AI mechanism in which it allows you to create different variations of an art piece. So this is from an architecture standpoint, what we wanted to do. One, we wanted you to understand what's the image about. Is there some form of tagging? If the images, let's say, have umbrellas, I want to detect it. If there are any form of similar images, I want you to recommend it. And that was the first basis of it. And then from there, this was the first step. Now let me show you a demo. So let me show you a quick demo. Nope. Yes. So the first part is that you're able to see different images. Now, if you see this, so this is the first vase that I have. This is a vase that I created actually, and then this is the original vase that I created it from. We'll do this in a bit. But if you see here, you would see the different components of artwork that are merged together. It can be by color, it can be by look, and it shows you how each and every image is associated with each other. So if this is a, let's say, let me pick something that I can spell, a vase. So if I want to see this vase, it will show me different forms of vases that are available and that are available for me to actually see. So if I explore each vase similar to this one, it will give me different forms of vases. Salim asked a question, doesn't Google also use similar image thingy? That's correct. So again, as I mentioned, Salim, whatever technology we utilize, different other companies such as Google, Amazon, Apple utilizes. So it's not just limited to us as Microsoft or limited to them as, let's say, another big corporate. So all of us do this. Yeah, if here's an example. In Google, you can search for an image. In Bing, you can search for an image. Any big customer or any big corporation will make sure to create something similar because they don't want you to go like, oh yeah, sure, I can speak louder. So they don't want you to go like, okay, no, they do it better. So they make sure that they provide you with similar features. Because if there is a different feature, this is when you would shift or jump off the boat and go to them. So we make sure to have different functionalities. But great job on associating whatever I'm explaining into different components that you're working on. So back to this. So if I go to an Asian piece, it will take me directly to the, let's say, to the website, which is the Met. But then here, what you're getting different forms of information about the provenance, the exhibition. You're getting information about the different artwork that is available. So this is like, it's all related, right? If I search for glaze, it will showcase something that is similar to this vase, but as the art piece. So here you're getting different forms of plates, dishes, and so on. Okay, I'll get back to the questions. Just let me finish the demo. The last thing that I want to show you is the AI generating. So let me pick a piece. Which one? Let's pick this vase. So I'm going to add some features to this vase. So notice how the image above is changing as I'm adding different feature. Let's add a little bit of this. Let's make it wider, and then let's add a teapot. And I like the color white. So notice how I created, with the power of AI, a different image that combined the original vase, which is the one I selected, with the 3 other components that are there. What is happening? Okay, so let's say if I add a little bit of color, then now I made it a jug. So this is all AI algorithms happening in the backend that allow you to create. Now, for those who are asking about Azure, so let me show you Azure. So the APIs is combining images for. It's not the APIs. The APIs is what I'm connecting to the website to, and what the algorithm is coming back to me with the response to. What is happening is the AI algorithms are what's creating that environment. Now, to show you Azure, so Azure, think of it as our platform in which we develop. So all of the AI features that I shared with you. So if I want to search for search. So I'm able to deploy it here. That's correct. So the APIs utilize, so you connect your AI algorithms with the APIs. Did I miss some questions? I think I did. I got it. Speak louder. So the main technology is Azure and other companies. So again, there is no correct way. Each and every industry or each and every big corporation has their own platform. Our platform for Microsoft is known as Azure, and that's something that is for Microsoft. AWS or Amazon Web Services would have their own. Any other speaker that will talk about AI or someone would have their platform of their own. So it depends on who you are and what you do and what's the cooperation that you work with. Okay, yeah, perfect. Okay, I'll keep some more questions just for the end. I'll just quickly wrap up the presentations. I need like 5 minutes or 10. And then from there, I want to show you one more feature. Now, think of it this way. How many times you have these documents that you need to fill up and you can't extract information? Or when you scan your passport, how can you get the information from the passport? This is something that we have, it's called Form Recognizer. So what Form Recognizer does, and this is what's used also in Azure Search, it takes a document, if it's a table, if it's an ID, think of your Emirates ID. How can I extract information from there? Your passport, how can I extract information from there? So it's a cool thing to utilize, and this is called Form Recognizer. Now, what Form Recognizer does, it allows you to extract information. So if it's a table, it will take the information from it. If it's a contract, it will extract the information. If it's a really complicated table, it will do that. And what it simply does, it takes the information, for example, the title, and then from there is a row associated under it, and it will take the information from that. It can be any type of document as long as it's like a table. And this is where I think someone asked, is it directly autonomous or is it with the help of human beings? So we have two versions of this. The first one is autonomous. What you will do is you will upload 5 documents and it will learn directly from the 5 documents. If you want to increase your accuracy, this is where you would specify, you would use a human to actually tell you, okay, this part, which is the Sunnyvale, USA, is the, let's say, the country or the recipient lender. This mortgage investment is what is part of the investment interest aspect. So you would add more functionality, but by default, it will need 5 documents to actually understand. What's recommended for the AI to learn by itself is to have 50 documents minimum. So whenever you're working with the face detection or you're working with a document, we would require 50 documents of it. But then you can always start with 5 and incrementally increase. Okay. Here's another example of what data you can extract. And then it's really simple. It's not time consuming. And let me show you it in real life. Okay. Now here is a document. What I'm doing, you're seeing the different information of the document. And what I'll do is I'll simply analyze it. So notice it's analyzing it. It detected that like the title of it, which is Invoice English PDF. And then, so see all of these components. So amount due is $600. The billing address, it took it. The customer ID. So what you're doing is that you're annotating each and every component inside of your document, and you're extracting it. The thing about this, the documents must be the same. So you cannot upload 5 documents that are not similar. If the documents are the same, it will extract the information direct. So here's an example. So here it's, even though the language is changing, it's still extracting the same information because let's say the French version and the Spanish version and the German version are actually the same. So you're not bounded by a language, you're not bounded by some form of constraint. It's just make sure that whatever document you're sharing is somewhat the same document. Let me see if I can show you one more component, let's say identity. So here is a driving sample of Chris Smith. And then from there, I am extracting information. This is a simple example. Think of your Emirates ID. When you grow up, potentially you would have your driving license, or if you have your driving license, that's something that you can extract the information from. If, let's say, another example, if you have let's say, a vaccination. So all of us are vaccinated from COVID-19. So if we want to extract the information of a vaccination form, I realize I don't have access to it, you're able to extract same to a health insurance and different invoices. Now, the last part of my day is, this is Form Recognizer, extract all of the information. And with this, I'll leave 12 minutes. So the first part I want to tell you is for you to actually learn. If you're really interested in knowledge mining, you can scan the QR code, and it will help you to start learning about knowledge mining and how do you set it up and so on. And if you want to try out knowledge mining yourself, we have something called accelerators, which is similar to what I showcased in the demo. It will allow you to create it by yourself, and you can try it out